In this video, I'll share an inspiring story about how I went from knowing no English to becoming fluent. If you're someone who's struggling to learn, don't worry. You can do it too. Let's dive into the story. Hi, I'm Jack, and this is my English story. I grew up in a small town in India where English wasn't spoken much. When I was younger, I didn't know a single word of English. Whenever people around me spoke English, the words seemed confusing, like they were from another world. I felt completely lost and didn't understand anything. But now, after working hard, I can speak English confidently. I can talk to my friends, read books, and even write full sentences. It wasn't easy, but I made it. Let me take you back to the beginning of my journey. I remember the first time I heard English on TV. It was during a movie, and the characters were talking in English. They were laughing, chatting, and enjoying themselves, but I couldn't understand a single word. I felt left out. I wanted to be part of that world, but the language barrier made me feel like an outsider. I realized then that if I wanted to understand and be part of conversations, I needed to learn English. In school, English was just another subject for me. The teacher wrote words on the board and pronounced them out loud, but they all sounded strange to me. They were just a series of sounds that didn't make sense. My classmates seemed to understand. They nodded along, repeated the words, and even formed sentences, but I just sat there quietly. I was scared that if I tried speaking, I'd say something wrong, and everyone would laugh at me. So I stayed silent and avoided eye contact with the teacher, hoping she wouldn't call on me. But one day, everything changed. I made a decision that would transform my life. I decided that I wanted to learn English, no matter how hard it was. I wanted to understand the TV shows I loved, talk with my friends, and perform better in school. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to give it my best shot. The first step was talking to my parents. I told them about my desire to learn English, and they were incredibly supportive. They told me that learning a new language was a great idea and that I should start with small steps. Their encouragement gave me the push I needed to get started. I began with the basics, the alphabet. I practiced writing the letters A, B, C, and so on over and over again. My writing wasn't perfect at first. Some letters were too large, others too small, and some were barely recognizable. But I didn't give up. I practiced until my letters looked just right. That small achievement gave me a sense of pride and motivated me to keep going. Next, I moved on to simple words like cat, dog, and apple. These were words I saw in my everyday life, which made learning easier. I made flashcards with pictures of these words and practiced with them daily. Each time I said a word out loud, it started to feel more familiar. Soon, I could look at a cat and confidently say, cat. I could pick up an apple and say, apple. This small progress felt like a big victory to me. Daily practice became my routine. I set aside time every day to study, no matter how tired I was or how much I wanted to play. I knew that if I wanted to reach my goal of speaking English fluently, I had to keep practicing. Little by little, I began to understand more. Eventually, I started forming simple sentences like, I am Jack, or this is a book. These might have been basic sentences, but to me they were huge steps forward. Now I speak English with confidence, and I know you can too. With patience and practice, you can achieve fluency. Stay committed, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're part of the learning process. I practiced speaking with my friends. They were kind and patient with me. Whenever I made mistakes, they corrected me gently. And when I got things right, they cheered me on. Their support helped me a lot. In the beginning, speaking out loud was very scary for me. I was so afraid of saying something wrong. But over time, I learned that making mistakes was okay. Each mistake taught me something new. Slowly, I started feeling less shy and spoke more and more. With every conversation, I could feel my confidence growing. Reading and listening were also big parts of my learning journey. I started by reading children's books. They were easy to understand because they had simple words and pictures. The pictures helped me understand the stories better. I would read the words out loud, practicing each one until it sounded correct. Listening to English songs was another fun way I learned. I would sing along to the music, even if I didn't know all the words. Little by little, the words began to make sense to me. Watching cartoons in English also helped. The characters spoke clearly, and the stories were easy to follow. I learned many new words and phrases from them. Writing was another important step for me. I started with very simple sentences like, "I like cats," or "Today is sunny." I wrote in a journal every day. The sentences were short, but they helped me practice writing. I paid close attention to spelling because I wanted to write each word correctly. At first, spelling was hard. Some words were tricky to remember, but I used a dictionary to check my work. With practice, my spelling improved, and my writing got better each day. I didn't try to learn everything at once. Instead, I focused on taking small steps. I would learn one thing at a time. This made it easier to stay on track and not feel overwhelmed. Slowly but surely, all those small steps turned into big improvements. I could see how far I had come. One day, I joined an English club. We met every week to talk about different topics and play games in English. It was fun, and it helped me practice speaking even more. I made new friends who were also learning English. We encouraged each other and shared tips for learning. I also found language partners online. We talked through video calls. They wanted to learn my language, and I wanted to learn English, so we helped each other. It was like having a study buddy. We practiced speaking and listening, and we corrected each other's mistakes. This helped me improve a lot. Whenever I didn't understand something, I wasn't afraid to ask for help. I asked my teacher, my friends, and even my parents. They were always happy to help me. They explained things and gave me useful tips and resources. Asking for help was important because it reminded me that I didn't have to learn English all by myself. Learning English has changed my life in so many ways. It opened up new opportunities. I can talk to more people, understand more things, and feel more confident in myself. I am proud of how far I've come. Now I want to help others by sharing my story. I hope it inspires you. If you are learning English, remember that you can do it too. Start with small steps and practice every day. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They are part of the learning process. And if you ever feel stuck, don't hesitate to ask for help. Keep going even when it gets tough. You've got this. I used to worry that others would laugh at me when I tried to speak English. I was so scared of making mistakes that sometimes I pretended to be sick just to avoid going to English class. I didn't want anyone to hear me struggle with the words, but deep down, I knew I couldn't keep running away. I had to face my fear and learn this new language. One day, I decided to start from the very beginning. I realized that if I wanted to learn English, I needed to build a strong foundation. So I started with the basics, the alphabet. Learning the alphabet felt like opening a door to something new. Each letter was like a key. Together, they made the building blocks of words. I found joy in learning these small things. It was fun to see how letters could combine to create new sounds and meanings. To help myself remember the letters better, I made my own flashcards. I used colorful jackers to make them more interesting. On one side of the card, I wrote the letter, and on the other side, I drew a picture of something that started with that letter. For example, A was for apple, B was for ball, and C was for cat. Every day, I would look at these flashcards, say the letters out loud, and trace them with my finger. The more I practiced, the easier they became. I also started watching educational videos for kids. These videos were made to teach the alphabet in a fun way. They had songs, dances, and colorful animations. I sang along with the songs and followed the dances. It made learning much more enjoyable. These videos helped me remember the letters in a playful way, making it easier to stick with my practice. Learning English brought out many emotions. At first, I felt nervous every time I tried to learn a new word. I was afraid of getting it wrong. I didn't want people to laugh at me for making mistakes. But I knew that if I let fear stop me, I would never learn. So, I tried to be brave. With every new letter or word I learned, I felt a sense of excitement. It made me proud, and these small victories gave me more confidence to keep going. There were times when I felt overwhelmed, though. English has many rules, and for every rule, there seemed to be an exception that confused me. It felt like I was taking one step forward and two steps back. But I reminded myself that learning anything new takes time. I had to be patient with myself. Support from my family and friends made a big difference. My parents encouraged me every day. They told me it was okay to make mistakes because each mistake was part of the learning process. Their words gave me the strength to keep going. My friends helped me practice too. They were patient and kind, correcting me gently when I said something wrong. They cheered me on when I got it right. Their support made me feel less alone in my journey. I also learned to celebrate my progress, no matter how small it seemed. Every time I learned a new letter, I celebrated. Every time I wrote a word correctly, I celebrated. And when I finally spoke a full sentence without hesitation, I celebrated even more. These little celebrations kept me motivated. They reminded me of how far I had come and gave me the energy to keep moving forward. No matter how hard it was, I didn't give up. I kept reminding myself of my goal. I wanted to learn English so I could understand and be understood. I wanted to connect with other people. This goal kept me focused and determined. Every day I pushed myself a little further, even when it felt tough. Looking back, I now see how important those early steps were. Learning the alphabet, writing words, and speaking out loud, they were the foundation of my entire journey. These small steps taught me patience and perseverance. They also taught me to appreciate the little victories along the way. Learning anything new isn't a straight path. There will be ups and downs, but if you keep going and stay determined, anything is possible. Now, when I speak English, I remember those early days. I remember the challenges, but I also remember the small wins. These memories are part of my story, and they remind me of how far I've come. They give me the confidence to keep learning and growing every day. If you are just starting to learn English, know that it's okay to feel nervous. It's okay to make mistakes. Every step you take, no matter how small, is progress. Celebrate your victories, ask for help when you need it, and don't give up when it gets hard. You can do it, just like I did. After I learned the alphabet, the next big step in my English learning journey was building my vocabulary. I knew that knowing more words would help me understand and speak English better. So I started small, learning simple words that I saw and heard in my daily life. These were words that were familiar to me, which made them easier to remember. It was like adding bricks to the foundation I had already built with the alphabet. The first words I learned were very simple. Words like cat, dog, and apple. These were everyday words that I encountered all the time. I could see cats and dogs in my neighborhood, and I often ate apples as a snack. Connecting the words to real objects made learning them easier. When I saw a cat, I could say the word cat out loud. When I saw a dog, I would say dog. And when I held an apple, I would say apple. These words became part of my daily life, and this helped me remember them better. Each new word I learned felt like a small victory. It was like stepping forward on my path to learning English. These words were the building blocks for sentences, and with every new word, I felt my understanding of English grow. I started using these words in small conversations. For example, when I saw a cat outside, I could say to my friend, "Look, a cat." Or when I wanted an apple, I could ask, "Can I have an apple?" These small moments made me feel excited and proud because I could see that I was making real progress. One of the best tools I used for learning new words was flashcards. Flashcards were simple, but very helpful. I made my own flashcards at home using colorful jackers and small pieces of paper. On one side of the card, I wrote the English word, and on the other side, I drew a picture of the object. For example, for the word cat, I drew a picture of a cute cat. For dog, I drew a dog, and for apple, I drew an apple. Making the flashcards was a fun and creative activity. The process of writing the word and drawing the picture helped me remember the word better. I used my flashcards every day. I carried them with me everywhere I went. During breaks at school, I would take out a few flashcards and go through them. At home, I would review them before bed. I knew that repetition was important, so the more I looked at the flashcards, the better I remembered the words. Repeating the words over and over made them stick in my memory. To make learning even more fun, I played games with my flashcards. Sometimes I would shuffle the cards and try to guess the word just by looking at the picture. Other times I would challenge myself to write sentences using the words on the flashcards. For example, I would write, "The cat is sleeping," or "I have an apple." These games made learning exciting and kept me engaged. My friends also joined in, and we would quiz each other using the flashcards. They helped me pronounce the words correctly and use them in sentences. Learning with friends was motivating and fun. Another important part of my vocabulary building journey was practice. Every day, I dedicated some time to practicing English. I knew that if I wanted to remember the words, I had to use them regularly. Practice made the new words a part of my everyday language. One way I practiced was by speaking the words out loud. I would look at an object and say its name in English. If I saw a cat, I would say, cat. If I saw a dog, I would say, dog. This simple exercise helped me connect the words to the objects, making the words feel more real and meaningful. Writing was another way I practiced. I kept a journal where I wrote simple sentences using the new words I had learned. For example, I would write, "The cat is sleeping," or "I have an apple," or "The dog is barking." Writing these sentences helped me understand how to use the words in context. It also helped improve my spelling and grammar, which were important parts of learning a new language. Listening was also a big part of my practice routine. I listened to English songs and watched English cartoons. These activities made learning fun. I sang along to the songs, even if I didn't understand all the words. Over time, I started recognizing the words I had learned, which made the songs more enjoyable. Watching cartoons helped, too. The characters spoke clearly, and the stories were easy to follow. Hearing the words used in conversations helped me understand how to use them in real life. Repetition was the key to remembering the new words. I repeated them every day and used them in different situations. I spoke them, wrote them, and listened to them. Each time I repeated a word, it became more familiar, and soon it became part of my active vocabulary. I also set small goals for myself. Each week, I aimed to learn a certain number of new words. I would write them down and check them off as I learned them. These small goals kept me focused and motivated. Seeing my progress on paper was satisfying. It showed me that I was moving forward, even if the steps were small. Of course, there were challenges along the way. Some words were harder to remember than others. When I struggled with a word, I didn't give up. I found new ways to practice. I used the word in more sentences, drew pictures of it, and asked my friends for help. With persistence, the word would eventually stick in my mind. Technology also helped me learn new words. I found many apps and websites designed for language learners. These tools had interactive exercises and games that made practicing vocabulary fun. I could learn at my own pace and track my progress. One of my favorite apps was one that used spaced repetition. It reminded me to review words at certain times, so I didn't forget them. The app also had quizzes and challenges that tested my knowledge. It made learning feel like a game, which kept me motivated. My family supported me in my learning journey, too. My parents encouraged me to speak English at home. They would ask me to name objects around the house in English. They also listened to me read my journal entries. Their encouragement made me feel proud of my efforts and motivated me to keep going. Building my vocabulary took time and effort, but each new word I learned made me feel more confident. My vocabulary grew, and so did my ability to communicate in English. The simple words I started with were just the beginning. They laid the foundation for more complex learning. Looking back, I can see how important those early words were. They were the first steps on my journey to mastering English. They gave me the confidence to keep going, and they showed me that learning a new language is possible, one word at a time. If you are learning English, start with simple words. Use flashcards to help you remember them. Practice every day by speaking, writing, and listening. Repetition is key. Don't be afraid to make mistakes because every mistake is a chance to learn. Celebrate your progress no matter how small and keep going. You can do it just like I did. After I started building my vocabulary with simple words, I realized I was ready for the next step, making basic sentences. It felt like I had been collecting puzzle pieces with each new word, and now it was time to put those pieces together to form complete thoughts. This was such an exciting moment for me. The first sentences I made were simple, but they were the foundation of my English journey. I could finally express myself using the words I had learned. For example, one of the first sentences I constructed was, "I am Sam." Another was, "This is a pen." These sentences were short and easy to understand, but they felt powerful to me because, for the first time, I could express my thoughts in English. It was thrilling. Even though these sentences were simple, they represented the start of something bigger. My ability to communicate in a new language. To create these sentences, I first had to learn basic grammar. I discovered that every sentence needs two main parts, a subject and a predicate. The subject is the person or thing doing the action, and the predicate describes what the subject is doing or gives more information about it. For example, in the sentence, "I am Sam," I is the subject, and am Sam is the predicate. Similarly, in "This is a pen," this is the subject, and "is a pen" is the predicate. Once I understood this, making sentences became much easier. Every day I practiced creating sentences with the words I had already learned. Some of my sentences were as simple as, "The cat is black," or "I have an apple." By doing this, I was not only practicing my vocabulary, but also improving my understanding of how words fit together to form sentences. It also helped me with spelling and grammar, which are important for writing and speaking correctly. One thing I found especially helpful in improving my sentence-making skills was learning about articles. In English, there are three articles: a, an, and the. These tiny words are used all the time but can be tricky at first. I learned that a and an are used when talking about something in general, like a cat or an apple. The is used when you're talking about something specific, like the cat or the apple. Understanding how to use these articles made my sentences clearer and more accurate. To make sure I was practicing regularly, I started writing in a journal every day. My journal entries were very simple at first. For example, I might write, "Today is sunny," or "I went to school." Sometimes I wrote about what I did that day, such as, "My mom made dinner." Writing in my journal was a great way to review the vocabulary I had learned, and it gave me a chance to practice forming sentences. The more I wrote, the more confident I became. But it wasn't just about writing. I needed to practice speaking too. Speaking out loud was a new challenge for me. At first, I felt nervous and even a little silly talking to myself, but I knew it was important to practice. So, I started by speaking in my room, repeating the sentences I had written. For example, I would say, "I am Sam," or "This is a pen." Hearing the words out loud helped me get used to their sounds, and it also helped me practice my pronunciation. Over time, I became more comfortable with speaking English out loud. Once I gained some confidence, I started practicing with my friends. They were really supportive and understanding. They knew I was learning and were patient when I made mistakes. We would have simple conversations, like, "How are you?" "I am fine." "What is this?" "This is a pen." These short conversations helped me practice speaking and made me feel more comfortable using English in real-life situations. My friends were also great about correcting my mistakes. For example, if I said, "He is a friend of me," they would gently correct me, saying, "It's, he is my friend." Their corrections were so helpful, and over time, I started making fewer mistakes. To push myself further, I joined a language exchange group in my city, Lagos, Nigeria. This group was made up of people learning different languages. Some people were learning English, like me, while others were learning languages such as Spanish or French. We would take turns speaking in each language, which gave me the opportunity to practice with new people. At first, it was a little scary, but everyone in the group was kind and supportive. In the language exchange group, we played fun speaking games. One game involved looking at a picture and describing it in English. For example, I might say, "There is a cat on the table," or "The boy is playing with a ball." This game helped me think quickly and form sentences on the spot. Another game was role-playing, where we pretended to be in different situations, like ordering food in a restaurant. I would practice saying things like, "I would like a sandwich, please," or "Where is the nearest bus stop?" These games were both fun and practical because they helped me practice speaking in situations I might face in real life. One of the biggest challenges I faced while learning to speak English was overcoming my shyness. At first, I was very shy about speaking in front of others. I was afraid of making mistakes and worried that people might laugh at me or think I wasn't smart. This fear held me back from speaking as much as I wanted to. But I knew that if I wanted to get better at English, I had to be brave and take risks. I had to be okay with making mistakes, because that's how we learn. To help myself get over this fear, I started using positive self-talk. Whenever I felt nervous about speaking, I would tell myself, "It's okay to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes when they're learning something new." This simple reminder gave me the courage to speak up, even when I was nervous. My friends and family also played a big role in helping me overcome my shyness. They were always encouraging and never made me feel bad about my mistakes. Instead, they praised me for trying and celebrated my progress no matter how small. Their support made a huge difference and helped me build my confidence. I also set small, achievable goals for myself. Instead of trying to have long conversations right away, I started with very simple goals. My first goal was to answer a basic question in English, like, "How are you?" I practiced responding, "I am fine." Once I felt comfortable with that, I set a new goal to have a short conversation, like, "What is your name?" and "Where are you from?" These small steps helped me build confidence gradually. Over time, as I practiced more, I noticed that my shyness started to fade. I realized that most people were kind and patient, and they wanted to help me succeed. This realization made it easier for me to speak up. I also learned to laugh at my mistakes. If I said something wrong, I would just laugh and correct myself, saying something like, "Oops, I meant to say, she is my friend, not, she is a friend of me." Laughing at my mistakes made learning more enjoyable, and it showed others that I wasn't afraid to try and fail. Group activities in my language exchange also helped me overcome my shyness. In group discussions and games, I didn't feel as much pressure because it wasn't just about me. Everyone was learning together. Listening to others speak and learning from their mistakes made me feel less self-conscious about my own mistakes. Now, I feel much more confident speaking English. I understand that making mistakes is just part of the learning process, and I've come to enjoy speaking and connecting with others through the language. Looking back, I'm proud of how far I've come. If you're feeling shy about speaking English, remember that it's okay to make mistakes. Be kind to yourself and celebrate your progress no matter how small. Set small, achievable goals and surround yourself with supportive people. Over time, you'll see your confidence grow, just like mine did. After I learned basic words and started making simple sentences, I wanted to improve my reading and listening skills. I knew that being able to speak English was important, but I also needed to be able to read and understand what others were saying. This is when I decided to start reading books and listening to English songs, podcasts, and shows. Reading children's books. The first thing I did was read children's books. These books are great for beginners because they are written in simple language. The sentences are short, and there are pictures to help understand the story. I remember the first children's book I read. It was about a rabbit and a turtle. The story was about a race between the two animals. The turtle moved slowly, and the rabbit was fast, but the turtle won because it never gave up. I was able to understand the story easily, and it gave me a sense of accomplishment. As I continued reading children's books, I came across stories about different animals and children doing fun activities. One story was about a girl who went to the beach with her family. She played in the sand, collected shells, and built a sand castle. The sentences were simple, like, "The girl builds a sand castle," or "She finds a pretty shell." These types of stories helped me practice new words and get used to reading in English. Reading these books also made me feel more comfortable with the language. At first, I read slowly and had to sound out each word. But with practice, I started recognizing words faster and could read full sentences without stopping to think about each word. It felt amazing to see how much my reading skills improved over time. One of my favorite books was about a boy who lived on a farm in Australia. He had a pet sheep named Daisy. The story was about how he took care of Daisy, feeding her and keeping her safe from wolves. I found the story so interesting that I read it several times. I even learned new words related to farming, like barn, pasture, and shepherd. It made me want to learn more about farm life and how people in Australia live. Joining a reading club. To make reading even more fun, I decided to join a reading club. The club was for students who were also learning English. We met once a week and read books together. Each week, we chose a new book to read, and during our meetings, we took turns reading aloud. This helped me practice my pronunciation and fluency. After reading, we discussed the story. We talked about what we liked, who our favorite characters were, and what we learned. I remember reading a book about a boy named Carlos from Argentina who wanted to learn how to play the guitar. He practiced every day until he became very good at it. Our discussion about this book was lively because many of us had dreams of learning something new, just like Carlos. These meetings were not only fun, but also gave me the confidence to speak in English. It felt great to be able to express my thoughts in another language. Listening to songs. While reading helped me with vocabulary and sentence structure, listening to songs helped me with pronunciation and understanding spoken English. I started by listening to simple songs like Ba Ba Black Sheep and Old MacDonald Had a Farm. These nursery rhymes were easy to understand and fun to sing along to. Singing the words out loud helped me remember them better and improve my pronunciation. After I got comfortable with nursery rhymes, I moved on to pop songs. I remember listening to Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. The song was catchy, and I could easily follow along with the lyrics. I would play the song over and over, singing along until I had memorized the words. Singing along to pop songs helped me with my fluency because the lyrics were fast, and I had to keep up. I also listened to songs from different countries. I found a song from a Canadian artist that I really liked. It was called Summer Nights, and it was about a group of friends enjoying the warm weather in Canada. The song taught me new words like campfire, sunset, and canoe. Listening to songs from different parts of the world helped me understand how English is spoken in different accents. Karaoke fun. One of my favorite activities was karaoke. I discovered karaoke videos on YouTube, where I could sing along to my favorite songs with the lyrics displayed on the screen. It was a fun way to practice my English while also enjoying music. Sometimes, I would invite my friends over for a karaoke night, and we would all sing together. It didn't matter if we made mistakes. We were just having fun while practicing English. One time, we sang a song by Ed Sheeran, Perfect. We all took turns singing different parts of the song. It was a bit challenging because the lyrics were fast, but it was a great way to practice. Karaoke nights became a regular activity, and they helped me improve my pronunciation and fluency. Watching cartoons and TV shows. Apart from reading and listening to songs, I also improved my English by watching cartoons and TV shows. Cartoons were especially helpful because they were made for children, so the language was simple and the characters spoke clearly. I started with a show called Bluey, which is a popular cartoon in Australia. Bluey is a little blue dog, and the episodes are about her adventures with her family. The stories were easy to understand, and the colorful animation made it fun to watch. Another show I enjoyed was Dora the Explorer. Dora speaks both English and Spanish, and she often asks the audience to help her solve problems. For example, she might say, "Can you find the map?" This interactive style made the show engaging, and I felt like I was part of the adventure. As I became more confident in my listening skills, I started watching more complex shows like Sesame Street. The characters introduced new words, and the songs were catchy. Each episode focused on a theme, like numbers or colors, which helped me learn while having fun. To improve my listening comprehension, I turned on English subtitles while watching the shows. This helped me connect the spoken words to their written forms. If I didn't understand something, I could pause and look up the word. Watching the same episode multiple times also helped because with each viewing, I understood a little more. Listening to podcasts and audiobooks. As I got better at understanding spoken English, I started listening to podcasts and audiobooks. Podcasts were a great way to learn because I could listen to them while doing other things, like cleaning my room or walking in the park. I found a podcast from the UK where the host talked about everyday topics like cooking, traveling, and learning new skills. Listening to this podcast helped me get used to the British accent and learn new vocabulary related to different topics. I also listened to audiobooks. One of my favorite audiobooks was about a young girl named Mia from Italy who moved to New York with her family. The story was about how she adjusted to her new life in America. Listening to the audiobook helped me improve my listening skills while also enjoying a good story. Learning from everyday life. I realized that learning English wasn't just about reading books or watching shows. It was about using English in my everyday life. For example, when I went to the grocery store, I would try to read the labels on products in English. I would look at the signs and try to understand what they said. When I went out with friends, I would practice speaking English with them. We would have simple conversations like, "What do you want to eat?" or "How was your day?" These small interactions helped me build confidence in using English in real-life situations. Overcoming challenges. At first, I was shy about speaking English because I was afraid of making mistakes. But I soon realized that making mistakes is part of the learning process. My friends and family were very supportive. They encouraged me to keep practicing and reminded me that everyone makes mistakes when learning something new. I also set small, achievable goals for myself. Instead of trying to speak perfectly right away, I focused on small steps. For example, my first goal was to introduce myself in English. Once I achieved that, I set a new goal to have a short conversation with a friend. These small goals helped me stay motivated and build confidence. Conclusion. Learning English through reading and listening has been an exciting journey. Whether it was reading children's books, singing along to songs, watching cartoons, or listening to podcasts, each activity helped me improve my skills in a fun and engaging way. The key is to practice regularly and enjoy the process. Mistakes are just part of the learning experience, and with time and effort, I have become more confident in my ability to read, listen, and speak English. Thank you for joining me on this journey to improve your English. If you enjoyed today's video and found it helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Simple Spoken English for more tips, fun stories, and learning techniques. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let's keep learning together. See you in the next video.